I've been studying this military campaign of Vladimir Putin or the Russians. Um, since day one, I've been watching it, and naturally, a lot of us that watch these things closely, we were watching all the troop movements uh, closing in on Ukraine. Um, when I was personally inspecting what, putting my own thoughts into it. Not, I know the media reports certain things as far as um, what the military of Russia is doing, but it, in my own personal opinion, I don't think there is any doubt in my mind at this point that uh, Russia is lousing part of this campaign deliberately. It almost looked, when I looked at early on how the convoy was sitting there, some might recall the 40-mile convoy that was just sitting there. And then they slowly start sending in troops into Ukraine. It almost looked, I know it was just expeditionary, forces that were coming in. They were kind of looking to see what the defenses were like in Kiev. And it all this time, the last 30 days that I've been watching it, in my personal observation, I noticed that it almost looked deliberate, that the Russians are making it appear as if though this campaign is kind of half-assed and it's not fully up to speed, and there is a lot of kinks in it and there's a lot of problems affiliated with it, whether it's the generals getting killed, or I'm sure you've heard that, like 3 or 4, it's not confirmed yet, but 3 or 4 generals have been killed in the front lines there coming into different parts of Ukraine. But as I'm observing the campaign, and I'm looking at it from an objective point of view, because I studied the first Gulf War, I studied the second Afghan invasion, and then the second Persian Gulf War. At first there was the Desert Shield, and we went into Iraq trying to hunt bin Laden, and then we went into Iraq when we dismantled the Ba'ath Party there and Saddam Hussein. So over the years, I have looked at these different various campaigns. I know the American military is extremely superior when it comes to anyone else, no doubt in my mind, because we really do have an awesome military and Air Force, and our style of military campaigns are basically it's difficult to match them. We're pretty strategic and tactical in how we do things, very organized. And I am not surprised that we are the way we are. But and I learned that in the first Gulf War when we went after Saddam Hussein when he invaded Kuwait. So going back to Ukraine, the campaign in Ukraine almost feels like it's deliberately being botched. And here's my explanation for why I feel Vladimir Putin is doing this. He's not stupid, He's an intelligent man. Yes, he's crazy, and he has this crazy ambitions about the old Soviet Union, how to bring that old empire back. So when I'm looking at this campaign from a different eye, I'm not looking at it from a militaristic eye. I'm looking at it from an individual observing how this campaign is working out and what Russia is doing as far as he knows, this is another superpower there. Almost, he has a almost 5,500 or so nuclear warheads. He's not chicken feed. He is pretty intelligent in many ways, and yes, his generals are uh, lacking there, but it almost looks to me deliberate. And I tried to explain that in previous videos that it's almost deliberate because when the world is looking at him and seeing that he's getting more and more frustrated, it gives him the reasoning to use extremely ruthless and brutal tactics against a nation that has an infrangible spirit. Ukrainians really are resilient, and I've been watching them for pretty much a month here now, or 30 days, and I realized that the Ukrainians have an infrangible spirit. They are fighting really hard, and very proud of them. But nevertheless, when you look at the campaign in how the Russians are bringing it forward, it almost looks like in some parts it's actually deliberate, because in the southeastern part of it, in Mariupol and some of the other areas there, Donbass and Luhansk area, the Kharkiv area, he is pounding the hell out of these areas and leveling them out. But then he is not doing anything with Kiev. He's as if this morning I was watching Lviv was bombed. On the eve of Biden visiting Poland. So I think it was a message to kind of irritate Joe Biden, the President Biden visiting Poland. He was very close to that border, by the way. So he just deliberately did that to kind of send him a signal, just to irritate Joe Biden, because I'm thinking at this point neither of them really ever liked. I know Joe Biden never really liked Vladimir Putin, called him a person with no soul. So we know there's a history there between the two. Going back to the campaign, I feel like it's deliberately botched, and the sense behind it, the reasoning behind it is so the brutal tactics could be used and be justified, that since his campaign was going so lousy, he upped it at that point and said, okay, I'm going to up this whole level of brutality because it's not going my way. So it kind of gives justification to the public that, oh, okay, that's why he botched. He kind of upped that rhetoric and that campaign a little bit towards more brutal tactics. So I think that's my opinion, that it's deliberate. And then all these generals that are being killed, on a separate note, I wanted to make that point. The generals that are being killed, in my personal opinion, they are deliberately being killed. I could be wrong, but I feel they're deliberately being killed because these are the generals that he may have been fearful of, that could cause a coup and overthrow him. So if you understand that point, it almost looks like, yeah, they're being randomly targeted by the Ukrainians. But I kind of looked into that, and at this point, I feel that there is a reasoning behind why these generals are being killed and why they're being killed in the front lines there. It's an old tactic. It's been used by old kings and queens in history. Anytime they didn't like a military person who was getting too popular or too kind of was against the king or queen, they would get rid of him by sending him to the front lines and having someone assassinate him. So this is something that I have picked up from history over the years. Learning history teaches us how things are in the present day world, because we look at these things. So I think that's deliberate. Some of the generals that are being killed, when you look into them, you realize that I think they had the ability to overthrow Vladimir Putin. So therefore, he found a way to kind of get rid of them. So that's my last point there. I don't think I'll go beyond this. And we'll leave it at that for now. But this is my opinion on why the campaign is being deliberately botched and made to appear as if it is not going so well.